Hey everyone, Mike Santowski here, Animation Program Manager of Digital Media Arts College in Boca Raton, Florida. And today I'm going to show you in this tutorial how I created the character you see on the screen right now. So this is our goblin character that we're going to be designing, and I'm going to take you through the entire process. This is the Reallusion Character Creator pipeline. Alright, so first off, let's take a look at the finalized results so you guys know what we're shooting for, what the end result is going to look like. Alright, so we'll just hit
Hey,
play.
what's up?
And as you can see, our character has animation. He even said hello to us. And he's ready to go. So I'm going to show you guys the entirety of the process of how I got to this stage, starting now. So let's just go ahead and head into Character Creator. Inside of Character Creator, we're going to start off with a base male. The base male character has clothing to start off, but we can come into the clothed section here, and we're going to just simply select base. From the base options here, we're going to select heavy male. I felt that that one matched as close to the design that I'm shooting for as possible, so we're going to start with that one. We're going to just simply hover over the highlighted areas here, and when you click and drag, you'll see that you can actually just change the shape and deformations of the character model. So I'm just going to breeze through this. I'm going to make him much shorter, enlarge his feet. Alright, I'll shrink down his arms a little bit, enlarge the forearms and the hands. Let's go and taper down the back. We'll enlarge his head and we'll get into the facial features as well here. You see how quick this is? This is a great area to be in. You can actually just design characters and get base meshes out of here in no time, as you can tell. Alright, so we'll just pull the chin out. There we go. Just adjust the features a bit. So now we have a decent starting base mesh. We're going to take this out as an OBJ file into 3D Exchange, simply so we can export again from there and maintain all the proper file and formatting. So to do that, we're going to come up here and just click on Export iAvatar. And we're going to create a new iAvatar out of our character from Character Creator. And I'll just call him Goblin Base. And once that's exported out, we're simply going to go into 3D Exchange just so we can maintain our files. Think of this program as the bridge program. It's going to be the thing that allows you to come from Character Creator into 3D Exchange, obviously, and then into other programs like ZBrush, which we'll be using in this tutorial. Alright, so now that he's in here, we will be taking a look at some of the other properties here in a little bit, but for the time being, we're going to come up here and just export it out as an OBJ file. And I'll call it Goblin Base again, that's fine, and hit OK. Once it's exported, we're going to go into ZBrush, and in ZBrush, we're going to just simply create a default sphere. Now, with that subtool selected, the default sphere, alright, is selected here. You're just going to come up to Import and select your OBJ file. And that sphere is going to get replaced by our OBJ. So there's our Goblin Base OBJ file. And now we have our model here inside of ZBrush. Right. Inside of ZBrush, a couple of things. Whenever you are using the Move brush, I found that the Move topological brush actually worked much better for deforming the geometry. So just I would advise you guys to check that one out in consideration to the basic Move brush. And in areas like this, like the eye, we want to maintain the shape so that we don't have to update every single morph target for our character, and we can just instantly get nice facial animation. So that said, we're going to just mask that area out. So we're going to hold down Control, use the mask lasso, and just mask out the area of the eye. Once that's completed, we'll go in with the Move topological brush and actually just deselect this, and we'll just slope his forehead down. It's a goblin, right? So he has a small brain. We don't need a massive cranium there. And adjust the back of the head a little bit as well. Even pull out the bridge of the nose, and again, with that mask selected, we can really adjust the shape and style of this. Alright, we'll pull out his nose big time as well, make it nice and big. Come underneath and just adjust the nostrils. Grab the corners of the mouth. As you can see, we're deforming this model quite a bit. Let's give him a little bit of an underbite. And tuck this in. And just adjust the overall shaping. Looks pretty good. Let's handle the overall shape of the ear as well. So I don't want the cranium to move whenever I do this, so I'm going to mask it out and then select the inverse, holding down Control and clicking outside the geometry. And again, with the Move to Topological brush, we'll make a pretty large adjustment to the shape of the ear here. And from the side angle. And whereas we had some limitations inside of Character Creator as far as like how far you could deform the geometry, and here, as you can tell, we could really go crazy with it. I mean, if I wanted the ears way out here, I could go for it. So there we go. I like the shape, so we'll deselect our mask. And now it's time to talk about our subdivision levels. We're going to subdivide our character 5 times. So I'm going to hit the hotkey for that, which is Control D. 1, 2, 3, 4, and there we go. And now that we're up at a very, very high subdivision level, if we take a look at the model, especially in the thigh area, you can see there's a lot of little creases and deformations in there that we didn't actually sculpt in ourselves. So I'm going to show you a little trick to eliminate those areas and then give you a nice smooth result so you can just begin sculpting. Alright, so to do that, we're going to step down to about subdivision level 2. And within our deformation tab here on the right hand palette, we're going to go to polish and polish it around 30 or so. And once that's completed, we're going to step back up to our highest subdivision level and get it back up there. And now that we're at the highest subdivision level, if you look at the thighs closely, you can see a lot of those artifacts are gone now, and we have a little bit cleaner geometry to begin our sculpting on. Alright, so I'm going to cover a couple of the tools that I used for the sculpting. The main brushes that I use here is the clay buildup, dam standard, H polish brush. I used a little bit of the pinch in some areas, so we're going to go through a couple of those brushes and how I applied all the high-res details to the character model. So first off, around the bridge of the nose, we can come in with the dam standard brush. Alright, and I'm going to turn the intensity down pretty well, because usually I just use the dam standard brush to kind of situate where I want wrinkles and folds and creases and details to go, and then come back and hit it again with the clay buildup. Smooth it out and, continue. So there's a couple ridges for the nose, go in between the eyes here, just kind of wrinkle up the forehead a little bit. Real simple. You don't have to be too precise here, you just want to get an idea of where the forms and shapes are going to be different than what our base mesh has already given us. All right, some wrinkles and folds. The crow's feet here. Go under the eye. And there we go. I'm going to hit up the clay buildup now and kind of show you guys what I do with that. So in between the scoring that we did with the dam standard brush, I'm going to come in and just kind of brush over the top here. Gives a little bit more natural feel, wrinkles up the skin a little bit more. Just like the clay buildup, just due to the square alpha channel that it uses. You can see it's not so perfect anymore, it just kind of gives it a little bit of a wavy sensation to the skin details. Right. Another technique I like to use is the inflate brush. If you go in between as well, like we just did with the clay buildup, you see, kind of raise it up a little bit. Helps enhance those detailed areas. All right. For the lips, I went in with the rake brush at a really low Z intensity, and we're just going to score it, the bottom lip, And the Rake Alpha that we're using right now just gives you a nice kind of detail. Already works really well for lips. And we'll score the top lip a little bit as well. Just remember to use a low Z intensity when you do that. There we go. Alright, for pore details and things like that, I like to use the skin brush, which you'll find in the light box under brushes inside of patterns. And it's right here. Double click on that and show you guys how I got some of those really high res details in the pores. So I score through this, you can see those skin wrinkles. For him I used a pretty large brush, as you can see. Just wanted to make sure that they were really visible. I felt his skin would be a little bit more leathery, a little bit more worn. He's a goblin character, warrior, what have you. So there you go. Really easy. And these details will help us with the Polypaint data as well. Let me show you guys real quick too how I went about doing the scarring. It was pretty simple actually. We're just going to hit X, our hotkey, for symmetry. Turn that off. So we don't want the exact same scar on the other side of the face naturally. So I'll just put a scar like right here. Just kind of score that. And then I'll come back with the pinch brush, BPI. And just kind of pinch the ends. Have a little gaping in the middle, and then kind of taper off. Make a nice little cut there, a little wound. Alright. Pretty straightforward. There's other techniques you could have used here too. We could have done this with a mask, for instance, and just literally drew it on to the character. ZBrush, pretty amazing in that sense. So I'm going to go in through here and just kind of create a couple stitches. Just to show, you know, he tried to keep the wound from bleeding too much. There you go. And then finally, as far as sculpting is concerned, I'd like to share with you guys in this too, the H polish brush, because I feel like it's really handy. Villainous characters are a little sharper. You want to have sharp edges and make them look like, you know, they might actually hurt you if you touch them, sort of thing. So I'm just going to showcase how the H polish brush works for that. If we go to the tip of the nose, for instance, and I brush from this angle, you can see it flattens out that area. Okay, and if actually, I'll turn on symmetry for this portion. We do that from both sides. You can see it flattens it out. You can do it from the front. It's just a great way to make points and, you know, get a little bit better detail and harsher angles within your clay. If you don't like the line too much, you can always break it up a little bit with the H polish brush, just from a different angle. In this case, I'm just using the clay buildup, holding down Alt to do the inverse. I think the chin is another nice area to kind of showcase that. So if we want a little bit harder looking chin, you can see we can go in there and flatten those areas out. Again, it's just the H polish brush, really good brush for those type of features. So now we're going to jump into the Polypainting data. So I'm going to open up a file that's already painted and go through the process and just discuss with you guys how I did it. Actually, we don't need to save this. You see how quick it is. I mean, honestly, I can do that again in no time. So we're going to load up the tool. Let me just go and locate it. All right. And here's the Polypaint data. As you can see, this is the one I actually used for the video, not the video, for the write-up tutorial. And so I'm going to jump into this and how I got to this stage. So first off, right off the bat, let's go ahead and just talk about Spotlight. Spotlight's pretty awesome in here. You can use any image and directly apply that said image right onto your character model. So what we're going to do here is literally just import, and you can import any image you want. But just for demonstration purposes, I'll show you how it works. So we'll just pick this HDRI image, for instance. We're going to click on this icon right here. It's Add to Spotlight. Once it's added, you have this pinwheel where you can adjust the positioning of it, rotation, scale, a lot of different options within here. Your hotkeys, Z will jump back and forth between you manipulating the image and manipulating your 3D object. So let's just say we wanted this image right across the back of the character, for instance. You place the image, and then you would select a brush. We'll use the standard brush for this one, RGB only, and just literally just paint right onto the character. Okay. Again, Z shifts back and forth between moving the image and applying the image onto the character model. And then your other hotkey for this one is Shift Z. That'll just turn it off so we can see what we've done. And as you can tell, we applied that image directly onto our character model. And I did that with like frogs and a couple different images that I found on the web just to get some of the colorations and things that I wanted to use for our character. All right. Another technique I like to use whenever painting onto characters is masking. Masking is huge when painting, and it allows a lot more control. If I just paint over the top of any area right now, it's going to take that color and wipe out that entire area with that individual color. Whereas if we were to mask an area, it would then allow us to only adjust areas and leave other areas alone. So to showcase that, we're going to go into masking, and we're going to come down to mask by cavity and simply click on that. And as you can tell, it's masked out now all the cracks, all inside all of the cracks. We can inverse this by holding down Control and clicking. That's your hotkey for that. Or you can click on inverse right here. Okay, and if we apply color, let's just go outrageous here. I'll just apply red. And if I clear that mask, you'll see it only painted on the surface, which is good, and left the cracks another color. So to really enhance coloration on your model, and what I did with this character was I went in with darker tones first, because inside the crack's going to be much darker. Then you inverse and you select a lighter tone, and you come back and score with the lighter tone. And once you clear your mask, you can see it gives you perfect control over the surfaces. Smoothing works pretty well in here too, very similar to polishing, but one thing you do need to be aware of is when you hit shift, you're not only smoothing color right now, but you're also smoothing the geometry. If you only want to smooth color, then you're going to want to turn off Z add while holding shift down. All right, and that'll just smooth out the colors, and you can see we can just go through and play around. The other technique I used was the H polish brush. Again, and used it this time for RGB and no Z add. And when you do that with this particular brush, it recognizes the peaks and only brushes on the peaks of the details. So if I just wanted to highlight, for instance, this area, let's pick just another bright color so you guys can see exactly how this is working. And you see it's not scoring the entire thing, it's actually just tackling the peaks of these areas you see on these little circles here from the alpha channel. Pretty cool. And that's at a pretty high Z intensity, or sorry, RGB intensity. So generally I would bring it really low and then kind of brush real lightly, and you can see it negates some of the areas of the geometry. Really great way to blend in coloration on your model. All right. So those are the techniques I use to polypaint the character. Next up, I'm going to show you how I got the maps out of here. And real quick too, before you really start exporting out your maps, you're going to want to export out your OBJ file. When you do that, go to the lowest subdivision level and simply hit on export, give it a name, and save it out as OBJ. Okay? And once you've done that, you return back to ZBrush and you can start exporting out your maps. Alright, so I'm just going to load the tool since I just destroyed his face showing you. To export the maps, once again, let's just dive all the way back down to our lowest subdivision level before we click on this guy. We'll go to polygroups and we'll click on auto groups with UVs. And if we take a look at the poly frame, you see how much faster that was. You can see that it took all the UV shells and generated different polygroups out of each one. That's going to give us a little bit more control and allow us to apply a little bit more detail. So for instance, if we only wanted to paint on fingernails and not affect anything else, now that we have polypaint data, we can come in here, brush, auto masking, and we can bring this mask by polygroups value up to 100%. That way if we wanted, I don't know, nail polish that was absolute red, we can just click on the nail here and you can see it's not allowing me outside the area of that designated polygroup. Really cool technique. Alright, so exporting the maps. To export the maps, we're going to basically be generating off of those polygroups different selections. So the first selection we'll do is for the head. I'm going to hit Control Shift and click on the head, inverse it, and then hide the ears, the mouth, and the mouth cavity. We'll inverse again, and now we just have those elements showing. We're going to go to the highest subdivision level for our texture map. We're going to go to the Texture Map tab, and we're going to click on Create New from Polypaint. And there's our texture map for our face. To export it out of ZBrush, we're going to click on Clone Texture, flip the V, and export it out as a PNG. PNG file can be assigned to the model directly inside of 3D Exchange, so there's no need to go into another program and rename or convert it to a different type of file format. So we'll call this goblin face and then TM for texture map and save that out. For the normal maps, you're going to go to the lowest subdivision level, and in the normal map tab here, you're going to click on Create Normal Map. Make sure you're at the lowest subdivision level once again, and we'll clone it, texture, flip V, and of course export it. The other exports I did for this tutorial were as follows. I'm going to go back to texture map and turn off texture on there, and we're going to hide the body, invert, and then hide the arms, invert. And this will be our second map. So at the highest subdivision level, just to show you, there's our texture map for our body, which we would then clone, flip V, and export. And the normal map will be generated the same way. And I did the same thing for the fingernails and toenails as individual maps. Okay. So now that that's all completed, we're going to head into 3D Exchange again. And inside of 3D Exchange, we're going to replace this file with the OBJ file we exported from ZBrush. So to do that, we're going to come over here to Modify. We're going to go to the Face Setup tab. Up at the top of the toolbar here, as you can see, Replace Mesh is not highlighted because it doesn't know which one we're trying to replace for. So we're going to tell it the body. Replace Mesh, and we're going to select our base mesh from our export from ZBrush. Hit OK, and then there's our character. Okay, everything ready to go. And from here, we're going to go into Material. Inside of Material, we're going to use the eyedropper to select the head. For the diffuse map, we're going to go and locate our texture maps, which I have already exported, just to save some time. And we'll grab the face texture map. There's a PNG, and it's assigned appropriately. Let's also do the normal map. We'll do for the body. And as you can see, this process is just ridiculously fast, guys. So there we go. Alright, fingernails and toenails, same deal. And I'll just replace out the diffuse maps for these and continue to use the same bumps and specular maps that came with the model. Alright, so and there's the toenails. Alright, so once everything's completed in here and you're ready to export out your character model, you're going to come up to IC and export it out, designate where you want it to be saved to, and simply hit OK. Right, you can see I've already done this a few times. Once it's exported out, you're going to head back into Character Creator, and we're going to open up the file we just exported from 3D Exchange. Alright, so there he is. Everything's in here. And at this point I'm going to convert over to the other one where the paint job matches up directly to the mesh. I just wanted to use the exact same mesh throughout that portion of the tutorial so you guys see I'm not cutting any corners or doing anything like that. So let's just open up our project. And then once this loads up, I'll show you guys we can actually further adjust the details, size, and proportion of our character. So for instance, if we didn't like the shape of the forearm or something, we could come in here and still adjust its size. We could make them taller. I mean, there's still a whole nother level of detail that we can apply to this. If we wanted an army of goblins, we could literally use the same mesh over and over and over again with the same type of maps to generate multiple different characters within the same genre. Right, so once this is completed and you're happy with the extra deformations you've applied, you're going to come up to the top toolbar here and you're going to export to IClone. So send to IClone right here. And that's automatically going to open up IClone where I started off and had shown you guys the original character model. And he's right here. All right. And that's the process of getting them in. So let me talk about now, let's go through the process of getting the assets in as well. So I'm just going to do a new project altogether so we're clean. Head back into Character Creator and just click on our export to iClone one more time so he's just there without any assets, any props, like as we started from scratch. There he is. Alright, so for the assets, what I did is I exported the OBJ, obviously, and brought it into an external 3D program. In that program, I modeled out a few assets and exported them as well as OBJ once they were placed onto the character. So I did a helmet, a backpack, and a loincloth. And those elements we're going to take a look at now in 3D Exchange for a moment, just so I can tell you guys what needs to happen for them to work inside iClone. So from our folder here, let me just go dig up the file again. All right, and let's just pick on the backpack for instance. Inside here, same kind of deal. I created UVs for it, I textured it, and if we wanted to adjust the materials or replace the textures, we could use our eyedropper again, select it, and adjust the diffuse. I could also place in my own bump maps, opacity, specular, and so on. Oh, that's awesome. And so this becomes available for iClone. What we need to do is just simply export it out as an IC file. Hit OK, and that's going to create an iProp file for you. Those iProps I've already saved out. Let me just open up once again one more folder for you. Right, and inside here you see here's one goblin backpack iProp. So that's the iProp file that was exported out of 3D Exchange. And all we have to do to get that into iClone actually is, this is crazy too. Just drag and drop. All right, once it's placed in there, you're going to select it, or it is selected, highlighted, and you're going to zero it out. And that should place it exactly where you had it back inside of an external 3D program. All right, let's do the same thing for the helmet, the waistcloth as well. All right, just zero these values out, fits right on, nice. And we'll go to the helmet as well and drag that one in as well. All right, so these assets now, they're just floating in space, and if our character starts to animate and run around and jump around and do all this fun stuff, they're going to be left behind. So we wanted to avoid that, obviously. So the idea of that, basically what we need to do is pick and parent them. Before we get into all that too, I'm also going to show you guys real quick how to apply cloth to elements. So let's grab the loincloth for that. We're going to go here to the Dynamic tab. And within this, we're going to go Activate Physics, Soft Cloth, Edit Weight Map, and I'm going to show you the map I created for this. So it's right here. It's based on the same UVs and UV map that I created for the textures. And for this, it's just black and white. Where the black is, there's not going to be any simulation, and where it's absolute white, it's going to be 100% simulation. So you can see I have a nice fall off there. We're going to go ahead and hit open, and that gets applied to the loincloth. So if we hit play, it's just going to react as cloth. You can see a little tiny bit of movement in there. All right, so I also did that for the helmet. So just to kind of cover what I just showed you, Activate Physics, Soft Cloth, Edit Weight Maps, and I'll go and select the weight map where I just took the little bands that hang down from the helmet there and created maps for them, black and white as well. And I'll just hit play again so you guys can see. There's a little bit of movement on the flaps, and we're ready to go. So again, we don't want these objects to stay behind when the character moves. So Reallusion's made this really easy for us as well. So all we have to do is select the object, go down here underneath the modify panel, and find linkage. Pick parent, and then click on the closest area to the object. And you see it selected the head. Good to go. We'll do that again. Let's grab the backpack, pick parent, and we'll do this to the sternum. Okay. And one more. The loincloth, pick parent, and to the pelvis. Alright, so that's everything. Everything's parented in, ready to go. We just applied cloth to it, easy breezy. And let's just check them out with some animation. So if we go into the animation tab over here, we're going to go to motion. And you got all kinds of different animation clips that you can pick from. Let's just kind of find one. Perform. And there's talking, thinking, ideas, disagree. Here's some idles. And here's some movements as well. Let's just get them walking, why not? So we'll do a walk. Oh, I gotta have the character model selected, my apologies. So once he's selected, double tap on walk and applies the animation directly to the character. Now to adjust this a little bit further, you can see the arms are going to interpenetrate a little bit, so no biggie. We're just going to come over here to the modify tab again under the animation. We're going to go to edit motion layer, select the arms, and move them out away from the body. Okay, so there's one, and we'll get the other one out. And it's actually just in real time setting the keyframe for us and correcting the motion. So you're not stuck with any animation directly off a BBH file. So there we go. Then we hit play. There's our walk. Alright. And what else? We could do some performances. Here's a laugh. Again, we gotta select the character. Double click on laugh. Hit play, get an idea of how it looks. That one's pretty cool. And of course we can use the same methods to go in there and fix any interpenetrations that happen throughout the animation clip. So again, animation, just so you guys see again how to do this. And select the arm. I'll move it out away from the body. And you can go through the animation and correct areas wherever you see fit. I'll pull this out. One of the last keyframes there, and I think in the beginning, yep, right here. Right, and we scrub through, and we just corrected the entire animation for this arm in just a matter of seconds. And in fact, we'll go and do the other one, why not? Gonna pull it out, get away from the face a little bit. Okay. Right there, just a little bit. And you see how easy this is. It's pretty amazing. There we go. Alright, once you're done, you just exit out. Come back to the beginning of our timeline. Oh, one of his arms. Motion layer, arm. Look at that. Oh no, I made a mistake. Oh, 5 seconds later. Fixed. Alright, there we go. Alright, so we hit play. There's our animation. Beautiful. Awesome. So that wraps it up. That's the entire pipeline, everything I went through, and a couple tips and tricks and processes I used to generate this character. I hope you guys enjoyed this brief video, and thanks for watching.